Hello, everyone. Today I have Jillian with me. Very excited to have her here. She has created this whole business called HERide, and she's going to tell us all about it. Essentially, it's kind of like Uber, but I'll let her get into the details. And then we're going to go into how she got here and then her growth, where she's going from here, tips and tricks for entrepreneurs. And lastly, she's going to ask me a question. So hang on, we'll see what happens there. Jillian, take it away. Tell us about your business.
Hi, what's going on? What's up, Megan, again? So my name is Jillian Anderson, and I am the founder of HERide. So HERide is a female-friendly rideshare app, just like Uber and Lyft. Well, we're a rideshare app just like Uber and Lyft. The difference between us is that we have all women drivers on our platform. We're based out of Atlanta, Georgia, so we're headquartered in Atlanta. We have about 250 drivers in Atlanta, and our goal is to get Atlanta doing 40,000 or completing 40,000 trips a month. And so that's my goal with Atlanta. We've completed 7,000 so far, and we're growing every single day. I'm just
That is
happy to be
so
here. Yeah.
exciting. That's so exciting. And listening to your story and hearing a bit about the journey was kind of a really fun exploration for me because yeah, tell us about that. You had a fun way that you got to this point in time.
Yeah. So I actually moved to Atlanta with the intention of going pro for basketball. So I was actually trying to pursue a professional basketball career, and I started driving rideshare because it worked out best with my work schedule. Because it was just hectic. I used to have to work out early in the mornings or in the afternoons, early afternoons. And so it worked out best with my work schedule. I started driving at night mainly. And most women at night were telling me all of the crazy stories that they were going through, whether it was having to deal with getting a Uber or a Lyft late at night, canceling rides until they recognized the woman's name, or just whatever weird creep story that happened while they were riding in an Uber or Lyft. And so I realized this just kept happening over and over again. And I was like, this is a problem that needs to be fixed. And so I decided to fix it. Found a company to create the app, trademark the name as soon as I created the name. And we've been rolling ever since. My background's in computer science, so a lot of people want to know if I even created or coded the app myself. I did not code the app myself, but I do know how to read code. So there is a benefit that I do have with my education and my background that helped me, in this space.
It's so cool. And for you making the transition, like I remember you saying you were potentially an entrepreneur for a lot, like entrepreneurship isn't entirely new for you. Tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I guess in my words, I'd say I've been hustling for a long time. I guess it's just but since I played sports, I wasn't able to work like everybody else in school. So I wasn't able to get the job at McDonald's and Burger King over the summertime. I had to play summer ball. So I just became an entrepreneur ever since. So in high school, I actually started selling candy. Out of my book bag, we were selling candy for $1. And that was around the time when they took all the sugar out of school. So I saw a need and built it. And so we made some good money doing that. When I got into college, again, I played sports in college, so I wasn't able to work like everybody else. And so I actually was an RA. I was a resident assistant as well as when I was in school. So I actually taught myself how to cut hair and started charging some of the guys, some of the freshman guys that live in my dorm to cut their hair. So taught myself how to cut hair. I even made a clothing line while I was in college that came from a nickname that was given to me from when I played volleyball. So it's just all these different hustles. I've always had a way of having money find me. I haven't really been looking for money, but yeah, money tends to find me in these different business forms and these different brands. And so I've just been building on top of that.
And it can't always be easy. Like tell us a bit about like that journey. What was that like?
So the journey to her ride. Journey to her ride was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. I've really had to commit myself. I've always been someone who's kind of like job hopped or hustle hopped in a sense. I've always got my hand into different things. And so I stayed focused on her ride. And it's really, really been working out best for me. When it comes to the journey's just been crazy. So like when we first launched on the App Store, that was March of 2020. Everybody in the world knows what happened March of 2020. And so like we couldn't give a ride. I didn't give a ride for 2 years when I had my app. One for the first year was COVID year, so we weren't giving any rides for that. Really worked on building up our brand and building up the name. And then the next year we had a lot of glitches. And so that's something that you have to deal with when you aren't someone who makes the app yourself. if you go through a different company, if you're not super tech savvy and you don't understand how to code, you're going to spend a lot of time troubleshooting. And so I spent pretty much a whole year troubleshooting my app, making sure that it was running properly how it's supposed to. And then once we finally got it off the ground, we finally started giving rides. But then I hit another barrier of entry, and that was trying to get into the airport. Getting approved by the airport took another year. And so we applied in 2022, and we didn't get approved until 2023, July 2023. And so we have been like, the journey has just been up and down, up and down, up and down. And so this year we got a loan from the city of Atlanta, which has really helped us. And we've also strengthened our relationship with the city of Atlanta as a whole. Because I really, really, really want to work with the city. I really, really, really want to look into getting more government contracts and that type of support. So that's the trajectory that we're heading into for when it comes to HERide. But the journey has been, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. Like, I've learned so much. And I'm still employed full time, so I'm able to still work my job full time and then still work on my business and build my business properly. So I'm grateful.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I remember you saying that you haven't done it completely alone. You do have a business partner.
Yes. So I do have an amazing co-founder. Her name is Devin Starks. And she is not only is she my co-founder, we're co-founders together, but she's my director of marketing and communications. And so everything when it comes to the brand, the voice of Her Ride, all of the articles that people have written about Her Ride, that's due to her. Devin is amazing at what she does. Her background is in public relations, and so she is a master at what she does. So I just let her work, and then when she tells me, "Hey, I signed you up for this," or "You got an interview for this," I'm like, "All right," I put it in my calendar and I get right.
And you found her, is that correct?
Yeah, so me and Devin actually went to college together. We went to Albany State together. I was actually her RA, but we weren't friends or anything like that. It wasn't until I started working with an artist in Atlanta. I helped manage an artist, and so her son's father, we were working together. And when my former co-founder quit, I reached out to her son's father to see if I can get Devin's contact information because I always remember that Devin was a huge supporter of her ride from when I first started. And I have a very good memory of all the people that were supporting me when I first started. And so I was like, Devin's background is in marketing, it is in public relations. I am going to need somebody to help me sell this brand, to get this brand known and the exposure for this brand. And so I called her up to ask her if this was something that she was interested in. And unbeknownst to me, she was looking into getting into the tech industry that same year as well. So it was almost like it was God sent. It was divine connection.
That's so cool. And you had another co-founder before,
Mhm.
and then they quit. So like, how did you know you needed a co-founder? When did you know you needed a co-founder? Because I know sometimes going from a team is a process. How did you get there?
So always knew I needed a co-founder because of just my personality type.
Mm.
I'm not a salesman by trade. I'm not someone that can sell a product. Even though I sold candy and stuff like even though I have always been entrepreneur, it wasn't that I sold candy and I was like trying to convince people to buy candy. I knew that people wanted the sugar. People were addicted to sugar, so I knew they wanted it. So that wasn't a hard sell. But when it came to something like this, convincing someone to use a service, I knew that I would need somebody that is one convincing, one is has a history in sales, marketing, advertising, and that's just the things that everything that I'm not good at. I needed to find someone that was, and so that's why I determined that I knew I was going to need a co-founder because I'm not good at everything. I'm not good at every single department.
And how amazing to admit that. I think
Yeah.
sometimes a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck and then they don't go anywhere because they think they have to be good at everything and then they can't be.
Wow. Yeah. No. I'm very aware, very self-aware in that area. I am good at it when I'm not good at it.
That's such a gift. And for you in this process, who have been kind of your key people that supported you along the way?
I would definitely say my girlfriend for sure. She's in nursing school now, so I think that it's just fascinating that what I've started or the drive that I put in has pushed her to want to excel in her career as well. I would say my parents, well, my mother. My mother is super supportive of what I have going on. My family, my friends, my circle, my small circle of friends. And then I'm big on Audible books. These people don't know me personally. I don't know them personally. But I listen to a lot of self-help or audiobooks, especially that are like biographies. So Asia Wilson's book, Dear Black Girls, I listen to hers a lot. I listen to 50 Cent's novels a lot. He has really good books. And so just listening to how people made it to where they're at, how they overcame their struggles, how they overcame their challenges is what help keeps me going. And then also, my team is what really keeps me going. My co-founder, she works full time still. My head of process, they work as well. She works full time as well. And so knowing that these people are choosing to sacrifice not only their time, but their energy into believing in her ride and building my brand or my vision or my baby, that's what really keeps me going. Like I don't want to be wasting anybody's time. So that's really what keeps me going. It's really what keeps me motivated is everybody. And I'm a big team player. I played team sports in college and I'll do anything for my teammates. And so having teammates that believe in me, that's what keeps me going.
That's amazing because I think that's sometimes the challenge. As you said, there were so many setbacks and you were like, "Great, this year we're starting, this year we're going full out," and then stuff comes up.
Yeah,
It's, in my mind, that team, that network of people that have your back and you know that you're accountable to them and them to you, and that's what keeps it all going.
I agree.
And the books that you read as well, tell us
Yeah.
about those. How did you get impact?
So so I'm an avid reader, accelerated reader, all that good stuff in school. So I love reading, but like I'm like ADD, so like I cannot sit down and like physically read a book anymore. But Audible has changed my life. So like, yeah, Dear Black Girls by Asia Wilson is a book that I've been listening to for the last month. One because I've been watching the WNBA. I was kind of in a headspace where I was a little bit depressed, a little sad about the loss of my father. And so she shares a lot about the loss of her grandmother and how she overcame that through that book. And so I've just been listening to that to just stay motivated to keep going. And then also just watching what she's been doing this year as a player and her season this year has been tremendous. So it's just been motivating. Um, Another book that I love is actually Super Pumped. And that's a book about it's about Uber. It's about the creation of Uber. They actually turned that into a TV show that was on Showtime. But that book is really, really good. And it goes more in depth into the mind of the founder. Oh my God, I can't think of his name right now. Trevor. Yeah, Trevor. Travis Kalanick. Travis Kalanick. It goes more into the mind of Travis and the type of person that he was, just as an individual. And so I didn't know who he was or how he even got to like what type of mindset he had to have in order to get Uber to where it was. They really go in depth into that and just how they really built Uber up right before pre-IPO. And so I like to refer to that a lot in just terms of just where I'm at in the stage of where HERide is. And then I got you got 50 Cent's Hustle Smarter, Hustle Harder book. He has another book that that was his second one. He has another book that he wrote that I listened to as well, and then I listened to Charlemagne the God as well. So some of his books are really good. That very first book that Charlemagne created was really good. So I refer to that one a lot as well. But yeah, I just like to listen to things. I'm like an auditory learner, and so I always have my headphones in and I'm listening, either listening to a YouTube channel, listening to a book, or listening to something.
And that's how we learn, and I think that's kind of it, having that as a daily practice, it sounds like. It keeps it in your world, it keeps you in the world of there's growth, there's stuff changing, and especially going back to Uber and the man who created Uber, that's huge.
Yeah, super inspired by him. He's a interesting individual, but super inspired by what he did and the way that he was able to do it.
And what were some of the things, your key takeaways that you took from reading that?
I think the keys takeaways that I took from that book would be to always have confidence, like to never like to it doesn't matter what you think your idea is. If you're confident in your idea and you believe in it, it will come true. It will come true because that's how confident Travis was in what he was doing.
That's amazing. It's funny, my niece the other day asked me a question. She said, "Is there anything you should do in life without confidence?" And we had this whole thought and discussion about like, I don't know if there is. I
Is
think
that
pretty much everything in life, we couldn't come up with a solid thing of this is something you should do without confidence.
that's a good question to ask ChatGPT.
Yeah, exactly. Like, maybe humility, you need some humility with that confidence and some, like, sense with that confidence, but if you're gonna do something, you should probably have confidence when you're doing it.
I
That's really cool, and I like that that came out of that book. And growth-wise, you've given us a bit about growth and where you're going from here. Tell us some more.
So growth wise, we plan on, like I said, my goal is to get Atlanta doing 40,000 trips per month. And that if if I want to break that down by drivers, I want to have at least 1,000 drivers doing 10 trips a week. Right, 10 trips is not that much. And so that's my goal for Atlanta. We need to raise probably around close to 800,000, probably closer to $1 million in order to get just Atlanta off the ground. But once Atlanta's off the ground, we'll be completely self-sufficient through our own profit. So a lot of people don't know, well, they think that the rideshare industry is not profitable because Uber and Lyft just started turning profits this quarter or this year. That's not been the case. They've been making money since they first started giving rides. It's just they wanted to scale and control a certain percentage of the market in a certain period of time. And so they needed to acquire a certain amount of debt in order to do that. And so now that they are out of that hole, they are now in the green or in the black or whatever they want to say. But yeah, so we've been making money since we first gave our first ride. We also didn't have to spend as much money as Uber and Lyft did in terms of marketing and advertising and teaching the consumer about what rideshare is, period. And so that's what I like to tell people or anybody that's interested in investing is that the only thing that we need money for an individual in each and every individual state or city that we're going to be into is really marketing, advertising, and startup costs. So startup costs being insurance, startup costs being hiring vehicle inspectors because we do in-person vehicle inspectors.
Okay.
And so like those small startup costs, the app already exists. So in terms of technology costs, I don't need to have a whole bunch of teams ears that I'm paying them $250,000 a year. No, I don't need that. The app already exists. If there's any features that we need to add on or make, I know I can hire an engineer directly or contract that out. So when it comes to scaling, that's why try to tell people all the time, if you want us to come to your city or your state, this is how much money we're going to need. If you want to help us raise that, we can raise it and we can allocate equity to give away for that raise. And that's kind of how I want to grow it. I don't really want to go public. My exit strategy is a little different. It's either to be acquired or to stay private.
And in the going into a new city, how do you go about finding all of these people to fill those roles?
So for the roles in terms of like vehicle inspector or anything like that, those are nice little part-time gigs that people like. So a simple Indeed job posting can fill those roles. Those are very simple. And it also depends upon the state's requirements. Certain states require that if they're going to be doing vehicle inspections, that they are mechanics or certified mechanics. So that means I would have to put that variable in or that requirement in for certain states. But outside of that, yeah, regular job postings. We use social media. We're very, very active with our social media. I love the way that Pinky Cole, she's the owner of Slutty Vegan, the way that she uses her social media as like her own personal Google or her own personal TaskRabbit. I love that. She'll get on social media and be like, "Hey, I need a vegan chef in Houston for this event on this date. Can anybody like?" And then people just flood her comments. And so I love that. I kind of want to do the same thing in that area and be like, "Hey, so we're going to be out in Houston. We're going to be looking for vehicle inspectors. You guys said that you were ready for us, Houston. Alrighty, sign up. Here's the link." And so I want to do it that way. I feel like the support, you can reach more people directly through social media. But yeah, you got your regular job postings as well. Those are still working well. Those are still working very strong.
And you have a huge social media presence.
Yes, 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 we do. We're pretty good on social media. I will say that it's crazy because I don't see my social media presence as being super big, but I've been on social media since like 2007, 2009. So I've just always been in it. I grew up in it. But yeah, I'm very, very savvy with social media. I will say that I'm very, very good at seeing what's trending and then attaching that to our brand if it does see fit. What I am not interested in doing at all when it comes to social media is like doing anything for attention or doing or being outlandish just to bring attention to my brand and or to my business. I'm not into that at all. I'm into organic searches, organic follows, organic I don't know, organic followings. So yeah, I'm not really into like hopping on what's trendy or just doing something ignorant just to get a whole bunch of followers or a whole bunch of eyes on our business.
And for me, I've been on a bit of your social media, and it seems like you have a lot of fun on your social media.
Yeah,
Like, I've seen some, like, dance videos and you with your people and, like
they had to get that out of me this year. That was is me getting me to dance because I'm not even real. I don't consider myself a dancer, but I do have fun with it. But they got that one out of me, and I also really like that trend. I've been liking that trend all summer, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm incorporating the HERide somehow, some way.
But I love that because her ride is partly you. It's partly, like, female energy, females having fun, females supporting each other, like, it's all of that is the brand.
Exactly.
So I love that you incorporate, like, "No, these are my people. I'm gonna go with my people and have fun." That is the brand. Like,
Yep.
that
My goal next year is to become an ambassador, a brand ambassador for Atlanta Dream, since I did used to play basketball. But I want to be a brand ambassador for the W. I see the W's getting a lot more attention now, and like going to the games, wearing my paraphernalia, letting people know about her ride, but also letting them know about the dream, and then also just sharing that secret talent that I used to play basketball too. It's just like, yeah, I would love. That's like one of my goals. I got to get in contact with Renee.
Yeah, you do. That's the fun is you're becoming this symbol. Like, yes, there's her ride, and yes, the more her ride grows, you grow, but I really love that you are becoming, like, the forefront of it. Like, a lot of businesses, you're like, "I don't know who owns this company. I don't know who, like, is the owner of this." Whereas, like, you bring your personality, you bring your passions, you bring you into your business.
I think that's kind of the future of a lot of brands now. If we look at a lot of brands, a lot of the most popular brands in the States, when you think about Apple, everybody thinks of Steve Jobs. It's a lot of founder-centered brands now that are really like starting to blow up and be the center of attention. When people think about Tesla, they think about Elon. And so yeah, like now when you talk about brands and who's the faces behind those brands, people are more interested in seeing and knowing who those people are. Are these people good people? Do they actually represent the brand to the full extent? So yeah, I'm enjoying it. It took me a minute to get used to. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm starting to enjoy it.
Was it getting used to it?
It,
Going from backstage to forefront, like, full forefront.
it is still hard for me to get used to. I was just doing office mentors for Revolt World Summit this weekend in Atlanta. And there were so many people. Well, one, I'm there in my HERide stuff, so of course people recognize the name and stuff. But I still get shocked when people stop me to talk to me. They're like, "Oh my god, are you Jillian?" I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh my god, I love your brand." I'm like, "Oh yeah, duh, of course, her ride." But like, I'm still trying to get used to that. But outside of that, like, it's real fun. It's really easy for me to have conversations with people, especially when they know me based on my brand. And so it breaks the ice already. And I ain't gonna lie, it took a little second to get used to, but I have gotten a lot more comfortable.
That's amazing. And for your brand, how did you come up with that originally? Did you know it was gonna be centered on you, or not centered on you, but you know what I mean?
Knew that the brand would be centered on some like, I knew that whoever was gonna be the face of the brand either needed to be the founder, co-founder, whatever, right? Because and when people thought of her ride, they would think of this person. Originally, it was not me. It was going to be the person that was my co-founder that quit. And so that's who I had picked that person to be. As we continue to grow and scale, I honestly want for her ride to have a mascot or something like a Geico or something like that, where it's not a person behind the scenes, but like when you see the mascot or you can reflect that with the brand or something like Flo from Progressive, like a character like that, or Jake from State Farm. That's what I want to transition into. And so getting it off of me and then in finding like that representative or that mascot for her ride. And then that's what her ride is well, that's what everybody can relate her ride to.
I like that because you at times have to be incognito because I know you take your own rides, and sometimes the drivers don't know who you are.
Sometimes they don't, most of them do now, but sometimes there's still a couple out there that haven't driven me yet.
And I've heard you ask questions like, "How do you like working here?"
Yeah, I get real personal. I'm like, "How long have you been driving? How do you like it? What do you like about it? What do you don't like about it?" Then at the end, I'll tell them, I'm like, "Well, thank you for signing up for my app, and they're like, "Your app?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm Jill," and they're like, "Oh my god!" Like it's so yeah, I enjoy that. That's super fun. And it keeps them honest too, keeps them honest. I enjoy getting positive feed whether it's negative or positive, I enjoy getting honest feedback. And so if you don't know who I am before you start talking to me, you're more prone to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And how do you go through the whole feedback process? How's that been working?
I take it with a grain of salt, and then I just write it down in my notes. If there's anything that we can fix immediately or has urgent or requires urgent attention, I get to it right then and there. And then we just cycle things out based off of how urgent they are. When it comes to like different features they want added, of course you add that on the wish list. But a lot of things that the drivers have asked for, we'll be implementing in the new app. So I am happy that we're able to do that. But yeah, feedback, I love it. I appreciate it. The only thing I don't read or I try not to read are like the reviews on Google. Because when our app wasn't working, the reviews kind of got crazy when we went viral and all this other stuff. So like I try not to get too involved in that stuff. But if somebody emails us directly and they're like, "Hey, this was my experience on your app," I try to take that seriously because one, they took the time out of their day to send an email. Who does that? Two, two, they try to use our platform. And so I want to get them back on our platform again. My goal is if I can get them to ride twice, they'll ride for life. And so if I can have a customer have at least two pleasant rideshare experiences, especially their first two experiences with us be pleasant and are pleasurable, then I got them for life. So that's my goal.
That's exactly it. And I guess question I forgot to ask was, do you drive men as well, or is it primarily women for women?
So we do drive men. There are men that use the platform. Now the way that we advertise, we just don't advertise the men. So the way I like to describe my advertising strategy or marketing strategy is the same way that tampon and pad companies market and strategize to their consumers. Like the pads and the tampons are there for anyone to grab, but are men grabbing them? No. All right. So do tampon and pad commercials exist? Yes. Do men see them? Yes. Are they influenced to go buy them? No, because they don't need them. So like that's kind of the way I want to market and advertise her ride is if we can get really, really creative with our marketing to where we're showing her ride and talking about it, but talking about it in a way that men don't even pay attention because they're like, oh, this ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm tuning this out. Like that type of thing.
Interesting.
But yeah, so yeah, we do have guys that use it. The guys that do use it, they usually were referred to it by another woman. That's how it's been going, but we haven't had any issues.
Okay. That's awesome. And any advice for entrepreneurs who are looking to get into this world or any other entrepreneur world?
First piece of advice would be to trademark your name. When it comes to app names, that's the biggest thing for app names. App names, if your app name is good, trademark it. If you feel like it is good, trademark it. The next thing I would say is if you're someone who wants to build an app or wants to have a mobile app built and you are not tech savvy, your technical or your co-founder, your business partner needs to be tech savvy. They need to have a computer science background minimum, and if they're not minimum computer science background, they need to be self-taught, which means they pretty much are a genius. So, but they do need to have a technical background. I will say that those are the top two things, and then the last thing would be, when it comes to a lot of people ask me how did I raise money for my business? How did I am I continuing to grow my business without giving half of it away to a VC? I didn't quit my job. That's what I have to tell people. If you are in a position to where your job allows you can still work your job and you can still work on what your dream is, do that. Do that for as long as you can. And don't stop until your your entrepreneurship is paying you just as much as your job is. So do not I think a lot of people get super excited or they get into this whole grind mode, hustle mode. We're pushing this grind mode, hustle mode culture, and people like to love the term I would like to say is jump off the porch. And I'm like, you jumping off the porch, you ain't got no experience. You quitting your job, you got kids to feed, like you got bills to pay. Like, what are you doing? Like, don't do that. So I tell people that's the last thing I tell people is don't quit your day job. Not until you have to. Not until your day job is interfering with what you're building and what you're doing as an entrepreneur. But if it's not, keep your job. Keep your job and figure out how to work around it.
That is smart advice.
Yep.
That is very smart advice.
Thank you.
I like that. And last but not least, do you have a question for me today?
Yes. My question for you is, how can HERide support to thrive? How can we be more of a support to you guys and to your platform?
I love that. I mean, interview and stuff like this is always very helpful. I mean, the fact for me that there's more women out there that are doing really cool things, for me, it's also a mental, like, being surrounded by the people you wanna be like. So for me, just having more content, if you know any other really cool women that are doing really cool things, refer me those people.
Oh, for sure. I know
Met
a lot of them.
and, like, I would love women in my network and women that I'm in communication with because that's really what lights me up in the world. Those are who I'd love to work.
I know a girl that she should be 28 or she just turned 27 this year. And she's in the runnings to become the director of technology for her startup, for her firm. And it's like the moves that she's making at the age that she is crazy. It's crazy.
I
So
want
yeah,
those people.
I'm not a founder, but she is the way she's moving up the corporate ladder is super inspiring. So yeah, I'm gonna refer Danya to you. I got so many friends to refer to you. So yes, that's no problem. I can do that.
That's amazing because that's the thing, surround yourself by the people you wanna be like,
Yes,
and
you are who you hang around.
yeah, and I'm surrounded by a lot of men at the moment, and I wanna build this kick-ass woman group as well, so
Yeah, for sure.
take
Yeah, I
being
got you.
part of it, and good question.
No problem.
Alright, well, any last words before we sign off?
Only words I will say to everybody is please download her ride on the App Store and the Google Play Store. And choose to be unbothered with us. That's our slogan. So when you're riding with her ride, you're choosing to be unbothered. So choose to be unbothered with our platform.
I accept. Well, thank you very much, Jillian. It was a pleasure having you on today.
Thank you, Megan.